secure mortgage or a loan. So Petra, what we are, if you're honest, we have partnered with some financial institution that's Affinity and then Search, and then what they are doing is that they are offering a loan. The reason they don't want you to a third party partner offer once you have your funds into the savings booster growing and then working for you so that you can achieve earn more returns on your principal. So talking about our loan, like I said, we have partnered with we are giving Affinity is giving you 80% of whatever I have in your tier to access a loan, a school fees emergency, hospital emergency. Next, home product. The whole idea is that once you are going on retirement, you don't want to be paying your landlord once you're on retirement. That's going to be another headache. So, Petra, we are saying that if you are able to use your pensions as your a loan for mortgage, where we are going to give you 10 times of whatever I have in your tier 3 scheme or account to access a mortgage up to 2 payments. Now, it's very easy to sign technology. So, we call you with forms for you to have sit down, complete forms now. Now, once I just by a click, you are able to rate yourself, have an account for yourself. If not, to your account. So we are on at the exhibition room. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Petra Trust. We have a lot of investment agencies here, so I'm sure most of us will go upstairs and then talk to them so we can start some of these investments, looking at our age and our time for retirement. I'm sure we can get some lump sum. Thank you very much. On the presentations, please help me welcome UMB. Please, let's welcome them with a round of applause.
Hello.
Let's do it better for them. Please, you have 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, distinguished guests. Kofi and Amma in our presentation. It is both an honor and a privilege to celebrate the extraordinary men and women who dedicated their lives to shaping minds, nurturing dreams, and building our nation. At Universal Merchant Bank, we believe education is not just a path to opportunity, it is the foundation of progress. For over 5 decades, UMB Bank has proudly served as a Ghanaian bank dedicated to empowering individuals, businesses, and communities. Our commitment goes beyond banking. We see ourselves as partners in nation development, from supporting small businesses to investing in youth and education. We believe that people thrive, our nation sponsored 100,000 cities. We are also committing that next year we are definitely going to purchase one of the vehicles. We believe that teachers are the architects of the future. They are mentors, innovators, nation builders, inspiring curiosity, resilience, and values that transcend the classroom. Today's event is not only a celebration of excellence in teaching, it is a reminder of the ripple effect teachers create. For every student inspired, a community is strengthened. For every idea nurtured, an industry is transformed. And for every challenge overcome, our society moves one step closer to equity and opportunity. To the finalists and award recipients, congratulations. Your dedication reminds us that excellence is not a destination, but a journey of service, passion, and purpose. As we celebrate you today, let us remember that the best investment in any society can make is in educators. On behalf of Universal Merchant Bank and our CEO, Dr. Philip Mensah, I want to represent an inflective group. Thank you and congratulations once again. My teacher, my future.
Thank you very much, UMB. I think this is a sign that teachers will be giving us more money. Yes. Thank you so much, UMB. And on the presentation, I'm now going to invite Mr. Emmanuel and Mr. Bright Foley of UNICEF. They are come to give us a presentation on Teachers for All study. Please, let's welcome them with a round of applause. Or let's do it better for them.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I will be doing this solo. My colleague is not here today, so please bear with me. My name is Foley Bright from UNICEF. And today, in just a few minutes, I will also not keep so long. We want to present a study that we've done, that we've partnered with the ministry to do, on an important study called Teachers for All. Now, this is a critical focus area for Ghana and for teachers like yourselves. This is why we did this research, and we've been doing it for about a year now. Next slide, please. So, why are we doing this research in the first place? What is the motivation for trying to research into teacher deployment in Ghana? Now, I want to ask one question to start. If we were tomorrow, or maybe Monday, if all students in our primary schools were to enter our formal schools, do we think we have enough teachers currently to cater for all of them? I don't see a positive response. It means that currently, the teacher capacity we have, not just in Ghana, but in sub-Saharan Africa, if all out-of-school children were to enter schools, the number of formal trained school teachers we have, do we think we have enough to take care of them? Now, if you look at the graph on Saharan Africa, it is the tallest bar we have. You see that the deep blue color represents the number of teachers that need to go into the primary school education system in order to cater for the number of out-of-school system entering schools by 2030. So the national benchmarks we have for out-of-school children, we need about 3.9 million primary school. Currently, that is the gap we have. Now, if you look at the top there, the orange there, that is 2.1 million SHS teachers that we need by 2030 to take care of all out-of-school children entering the formal school system. Now, this is data taken from MS from 2022 to 2023. The MS data is the ministry's primary data sets. Information we got, 2.1 million SHS. You can see that there's still a lot to do in terms of enrolling qualified teachers into our systems. But it's not just about numbers. It's also about whether or not teachers are distributed across our regions, our districts, and our schools fairly and equitably. That question I'm not going to ask yet, whether you think teachers are distributed fairly across Ghana. When we go through some of the other slides, we'll have a fair idea about how that stands. So these research that we did, we went to look at only public schools, not private schools at the moment, because we want to get information and evidence to give to the ministry and see how we can help GES and the ministry equitably distribute teachers in Ghana. Next slide, please. Now, you see that this research, we are doing it in about 15 other countries, UNICEF and the ministries of education in other 15 sub-Saharan African countries. We are doing a similar thing. And this is the approach we are using. We are going to CSOs, development partners, and this is the model currently research still, where we'll be looking to engage some of these people to share the findings and then co-create with them the next stage of the research. Next slide, please. Now, this is how we went about the research. You see 3 boxes there. The first is we use MS data, like I said. So we went to the ministry and we picked MS data from 2022 to 2023. Now, we didn't use 2024 because as at the time of the analysis, that data had not been validated by the ministry yet. So we kept 2022 and 2023. And then we created some few other variables by linking that MS data to the national standardized test data from 2022. That is NACA's standardized tests. So that we can be able to create some descriptives, which is basically, my math teachers will know, this is just highlighting the situation as it stands, how are teachers distributed in Ghana. And then the last box there, you see, we try to see whether there's a relationship between how are teachers deployed and distributed in Ghana, and how does that affect learning outcomes at the early grade level specifically. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So we want to look at the teacher landscape in Ghana. How are public schools, how are teachers being distributed across public schools? As at 2022-23, the ministry through GS had employed a little over 324,000 pre-tertiary public school teachers, not just public schools, public and private. Now, if you look at the first graph there, the gender distribution, you notice a trend. What is happening to the portion of female teachers? You see that in kindergarten, the female teachers are championing at the moment. I don't know, for some reason, our male teachers are not the ones dominating that side. I don't want to ask why. I'm sure we all know why. But this is currently the situation as it stands, 2022-23 in our public schools. Maybe after the session we'll have a few questions to maybe give us some context as to why. But you notice that as you go from the lower grades to the higher grades, what is happening? The number of female teachers is reducing. At the primary school level, so it went from 88% female teachers to 50% in primary, and then it went down again to 32% in JHS. So as you go higher up the level, for some reason, female teachers are going down. Now, even though it wasn't the focus of this research, in UNESCO study, you will find that this trend goes down to SHS level as well. From 32% in JHS, that number also reduced to 24% in SHS. So for some reason, we are seeing that there's a downward trend as you go higher up the levels, and we can investigate further why. Also, we are seeing that, and this is very good, on the last point there, a little over a decade. So we have current teachers here have this. We have 10 years or at least a decade of experience. So we have seasoned teachers in our system, and which is a good sign for Ghana. But the last bar there, I don't know the slide there doesn't look clear, but you see that we also try to look at teacher qualifications. How many teachers have a degree? How many teachers have a diploma? And how many teachers are unqualified at all? Now, this is data from public schools 2022-23. Now, you see that the deep blue color there are the qualified degree-holding teachers. The lighter blue is the teachers who currently hold a diploma, and the very lightest blue there are the teachers who don't have any kind of formally recognized certification at all. Now, we know that the minimum qualifications was elevated from to a degree, but it's showing that since that was done, there's still quite a few teachers who haven't upgraded yet, are still at the diploma level. Now, when we went to some workshops and we asked why, we were told that since that elevation was done, no sort of formal assistance was given to also help teachers elevate from the diploma to the degree. Because if you are saying someone should go to school, maybe you should help a little bit with some of the things we heard from some of the people we spoke to, whether or not it is the case, we want to investigate further in the next phase of the research. Next slide, please. So you see that we want to, and you can go one more. This particular metrics, I'm sure we've seen it before, pupil-teacher ratio. We all know that in our classrooms, our class sizes matter, and we want to see how many students there are to a teacher in a school. Again, the vertical line you are seeing there is currently Ghana's national average in the primary school level, and that is 32 students to a teacher. So it's saying that currently in our classrooms, we have 32 students to one teacher. I don't know if the teachers here, this is something that you think is true. I want to look at the faces and see whether you agree with this. So are we saying that currently it is more? We have more students in our classrooms. Okay, but keep in mind, this is the national average. So when you go down to the regions and districts, the picture changes a little bit. So you see that even with this graph, the box that is there are about still 14% of schools that we found with the pupil-teacher ratio of greater than 50 students to one teacher, which is a huge issue. There are 50 students or more in your classroom. Obviously, classroom management becomes very difficult. So this is what we are seeing currently. In the education sector plan, the approved number we know is 35 students to one. So it means that currently Ghana is actually doing well when it comes to average class size. But this changes, like I said, when you go down to the regions, districts, and classrooms. Next slide, please. We also wanted to look at in our primary and junior high schools, specifically public schools. As at 2022-23, these two Ghana maps show you how they are distributed. Now, on the left is the distribution at the primary level. Now, how to read this map is very easy. The darker colors, these are where the pupil-teacher ratios are quite low or sufficient. Now, if you look at it, you can see where the darker colors are concentrated. They are all where at the northern part of the country. And I'm sure, again, in our minds, we kind of know why. So we are saying that if you go to the northern part of the country, specifically, and specifically some of the districts in the Pani, Tripoli, then those districts, we are seeing teacher-pupil ratios of 49 students and above. Very high for primary schools. And it is the central zones around Ashanti, Bono, Afo. Those are the areas where it is quite okay for primary schools. Now, we know that some of the reasons for this is that it's difficult to attract teachers to the northern parts of the country because of the conditions, the living conditions. And we've spoken about this for teachers. If the living conditions are not good, it's very difficult to attract and retain teachers. So this graph was not totally new to us. And we have a similar situation for the right side. You see that specifically for junior high schools, and this is actually good or better than the primary school level, junior high schools are doing better when it comes to pupil-teacher ratios. We saw that almost 93% of districts have a PTR, which is meeting Ghana's standard of, and for junior high schools, that was around, next, you also look at gender distribution of teachers. Now, the way to read this map, and the next two slides also talk about gender distribution specifically. The lighter colors are where female teachers are highly concentrated, and the darker colors are where female teachers, the darker colors are where female teachers are highly concentrated, and the lighter colors are where the percentage of female teachers is very low. So you can see that the darker colors are all at the bottom, or at the southern part of Ghana. That is where female teachers are highly concentrated. So that we are seeing that that is basically the urban zones. And for some reason, again, I'm only going to say for some, we are southern parts of the country, we don't have as many female teachers there. And we know some of these reasons. With the difficult conditions, it's difficult to attract female teachers to the northern part. Now, this has implications for the female learner. if the female student is not seeing as many female teachers around him, it has an implication. So this is something we wanted to investigate further with this. So this is a very important graph. Let's look at it. This is for primary schools. So if you go to the north and the junior high school level, you are seeing that at the and data we want to give to the government to investigate further. Next slide, please. So this graph quickly just talks about two items, pupil-teacher ratio and then what we call coherence. Pupil-teacher ratio we already know about. That is the number of students to a teacher. Now, coherence basically measures the relationship between how many students are in your school versus how many teachers. Ideally, you want to have a high coherence, which means that it is depending on the number of students in your school. That is what the government, or the horizontal bar is the coherence bar. If you are above it, it means you have high coherence. If you are below it, it means you have very low coherence. The four quadrants there, you see that the red colors there, those represent the districts that are in a very dangerous zone. So they have, number one, very high pupil-teacher ratio, so many students to a learner, and so many students to a teacher, and then at the same time they have very low coherence, which means other factors other than the number of students come into play when teachers are deployed to the school. The yellow and the blue regions are the medium priority regions, and then the green districts are basically the places where we can say governments can consider them low priority. So we want to see if we can give some of these districts to government to be able to help them with their interventions moving forward. Next slide, please. Now, at the JHS level, we wanted to also see female distribution of teachers at the JHS, or 3 bars have been highlighted. Now, this is just female teachers at the JHS level. Where do we see the concentration of female teachers? You see that all the high bars are basically English, social studies, creative arts, design, career technology, RMNE, French. These are where most of our female teachers in the junior high school level are. But at the STEM subjects, mathematics, general science, and computing, we have very few female teachers there, which means that something is happening also at the GHS level. Even though there are 50% of female teachers at the primary school level and about 32% at GHS, there's a higher concentration of these female teachers in the humanities subjects and very low of them in the STEM subjects. And this has implications for the female learner as well. Next slide, please. Now, the next 2 slides, and you can go to the next slide, which talks about, we want to basically measure the relationship between PTR and then learning outcomes. Now, we use the National Standardized Test for 2022 Primary 2 students. Next slide, please. Now, you can see that the previous slide basically showed where we are now, and this slide shows a school. You can see that the bar is going downwards. The trend is going downwards. It means as your pupil-teacher ratio rises, learning outcomes that we saw for P2 students in 2022 was going down. It was very poor, which means we need to actually reduce the number of students to a learner in order to see that this trend changes. This is not a trend we wanted to see. Now, this is only a correlation, and if you click on the next 2 buttons, you see that we are highlighting that this is just a correlation. So we are not saying that it is, but we are saying that there is a relationship currently between how many students is a teacher handling and NST. Next slide, please. So what does this information tell us? I want to just run through quickly some of the policy recommendations we'll be taking forward to GES and the MOE. We are advising to use localized data sets. The district directors know all about the data in the schools, so know where or which schools need less teachers or where they can do some restructure. to try and use localized data sets. So we go into the districts and the regional offices, and we use the data they have at that level, not at the central level. We try and use the localized data sets to inform teacher allocation and targeting moving forward. You also see that we want to address, it's important to address the barriers for female teachers. We talked about the difficulties female teachers face. So this is something, again, we did this research with the government, with the ministry. So they have this information, and we are doing this research ongoing with them, and we want to propose that they focus interventions in the area of female teachers, specifically for the remote areas, because we saw where the lighter colors were and where the darker colors were. Next slide, please. I won't go through all the recommendations. So this is the last slide. Now, you can see we were proposing to the government, how do we strengthen instruction quality? The second one highlighted there is to target recertification courses to areas with low levels of qualified teachers. Earlier on, PLCs, we talked about PLCs we need to take. Is it necessary for teachers to take in certain courses that are specifically not related to them? So this is exactly that. We want to target the kind of support we give to teachers, and we want to propose to the ministry ways to do this. In the broader report, there is more details about this. And the last one there is we want to try and build the capacities of local at the regional and district levels. We want to build their capacity in terms of using data to support the government when it comes to teacher deployments. Now, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. That was a very insightful presentation. My questions for the research, if you have any 2 questions or 2. Okay.
Thank you. I would like to present some observation to you. I was part of a campaign team that taught rural areas in Yakoye, Krashi West, Uchumuru, and Afram Place North, South, Sene East, Sene West. On the islands, you can have 1 teacher handling plus 1 to plus 6. In some schools, there are no teachers at all. And the fact is, if you post somebody who has not seen water before, and he sees the water lake, he is scared. He can't go there at all. So the solution would be to deploy the teachers to the districts. The directors know the peculiarities of the schools over there, and they will deploy the teachers to have this kind of thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. I think when we did some monitoring visits in Koroa Farm Plains, specifically for DL, we saw this. To in Tonaboma, you cross, I think 3 rivers before you get there. There was only the head teacher and a math teacher in the school. And then, you know how DL works, you are supposed to separate the students into groups. So you have 2 people having to take care of all the children in that fishing community. So how does the DL work? And so this is some of the things we saw. And as you mentioned, we wanted to know how to fix this, and we said it is the district director there who knows the specific areas where you need more teachers, and where we're seeing, and in the validation workshop we had, we also saw that sometimes the data coming in from the district rate as we want it to be. So this is something we saw, and something we've noted and we'll put to the ministry.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad all the stakeholders of education are here. So we'll take one more. Then I come to the 2 here, then we are done for this research.
Thank you very much. That was a very good presentation, and I wish that we do this more often. But I got a little worried when you were providing us with global data, national level data. That seemed to have been have created an impression that probably we are doing well in terms of the PTR. But you saw that when you made a point, there was a lot of reaction from the teachers. The reason being that the data at the national level is not representative of what is happening, and I'm happy I'm happy. So I think that in terms of this kind of data, we need to be breaking them down into districts to show the real picture. Because I can assure you, a lot of the data that is handled at the national level is not, like you said yourself, the data is not representative. It is not a reality. And we all know the national MS has, I can assure you, it's not accurate. So sometimes we need to be, if we sit here and tell the world that there is 32, I'm sure, and then make policy recommendations based on that. I think what we are doing is that we are doing a disservice to our country. And I think that we are at a point in this country where we need to be very truthful to ourselves. When things are not there, they are not there. When a problem has to be solved, let's solve it. Don't let us please ourselves to lie. And it is we are at a point where we have to. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you very much. You want to add something?
So, just to react quickly to the point made, it is very true, 100% true. And this is why I kept mentioning it's an ongoing research. So, the second part of the study, which is coming up, we are still doing that with the government. Stakeholder meetings with the Human Resource Department HQ, Genius HQ, and then move from there. We have prepared the full report and we'll be passing it around for validation in some of the other places. Districts. We got down to the district, have interviews with the stakeholders in the district offices, and use that information for recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll just take two more, then I think we'll continue.
Thank you so much. I'll also add say that it's a good presentation. A little observation coming from the district education office. I've also realized that some of the transfers to these areas that we want to go use it as punitive measures to punish teachers. Reasons for which I can't tell. So teachers don't want to go there. Yes, we need teachers to go to these areas. But if I'm going there because Mr. A don't like me, because which I was not given the chance to explain my.
Thank you, my brother. I think that was, appreciate the deep research that has been conducted. But in the course of your work, did you come across a document known as Comprehensive Teacher Policy, which had been done some years back, and others? And again, in line with the submission that was made by the first person, we would comprehensive work. We go down onto the districts and make sure that we get the information at that level. That will reflect exactly the state of our nation. And I think that all of us as duty bearers, and I'm talking about the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, the TVET service, and all of us as players, let us begin to talk the truth. Let us begin to mention things by their names and make sure that we use that as a point to develop this nation. If we continue to cover things, we are not going to make any headway.
that was a very good work done. Let's go back to the district and we'll get the right things done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take the last one.
Thank you very much. Great presentation it was there. My concern and added worrying trend of conflict, especially in Boko and in the Nkwanta area. I want to see in your next reports how that is affecting teaching and learning in this environment, and also other flash points that UNICEF, UNESCO would come out with and help us as partners in education to see how best we can come in to also add our voices to the conflict and are affected, and also our teachers in this.
Thank you very much. My concern has to do with transfers. In a situation where a newly trained teacher from the college to somebody has completed a Akachi College of Education, and the person wished and even selected a district within the catchment area, so that the few period of the few months that he or she may not be paid, at least some family members who are around can attend to such a person. And then the person is posted to a region very far away from him or her. It gives that it is not advisable. It exposes these innocent teachers to many things, especially the female one. Then the second one has to do with decentralization. We have been talking about decentralization over the period. The posting of teachers should be given to the district directors to handle. They are on the ground. They know the situation on the ground. But if we allow or we centralize the system such a way that the posting is done at the top, please, it will not help the situation at all. That is why we have a situation where some schools are overstaffed and then some are seriously understaffed. And that is going to affect educational outcome at the end of the day. And if that happens, the blame comes to all of us who are major stakeholders as far as quality education delivery is concerned. Please, let's think about decentralization. It's very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the excellent contributions. What I took from the research is that we have a few female teachers going up the ladder. And what I want to say as a kind of encouragement is we have some professors amongst us. And I think Professor Eric Anani yesterday said he went to Akokeri College. So I think that should be kind of a motivation for some of us to know that you can start from one end and move to the top. Even our registrar here went to Atebu College, and he's now the registrar of the National Teaching Council. So I think this should be a form of motivation for all of us to have the intentional motive of upgrading ourselves and do that. Thank you very much. We'll continue with the presentations. He's from Prinkoff. He's the Prinkoff chair. Please help me welcome Professor Samuel Atem for him.
I was actually thinking that we were going for lunch, so when he mentioned my name, then I was confused. Nonetheless, I think I have a slide on. Can we have it? But basically, I will try to be very brief. I just want to find out, what does it take to teach in a college today? Who knows? Now, if you want to teach in a college of education, what do you need to have? Qualification. They are seeing somebody, I don't know, somebody saying, yeah. Anyway, so a lot of things has happened at the College of Education. I think I started sometime last year up to where we are. So we just going to talk about it. We are talking about elevation of teacher, and that's what we want to focus on. So I'll look at a brief interaction background, and then we also some data on migration that we did, And then implication for quality education will conclude. So I think I like this quote. The quality of an exemplary teacher is demonstrated by their willingness to set and maintain the highest standards for themselves and their students. We're talking here about quality education. I think we heard a lot from the DG and all the other presenters. I was excited when the last speaker was talking about where the teachers have been posted to, and they saw one teacher, and I asked myself, 1991, I was the only teacher with my head teacher, so we decided to have Wednesday as a holiday for ourselves. I won't mention the place. I refused to go. So we had one extra. I won't mention the place, but it's in BA. And we didn't really end there. We have to go and look for a grass cutter and make fufu. So I think I like it. All right, so we all know that the history of schools in Ghana here dates back to 1848. We talk about the colleges, and precisely we're talking about Akropong College of Education, where they pride themselves as being the mother of colleges of education. Others have overtaken them. They still, a mother, each child has grown. They still talk about mother. Anyway, so from that point, then we have the expansion coming back to Nkrumah's days, 1950, when he brought about the Accelerated Development Plan. I think some knew about that one. That led to some more colleges being established. So there was an expansion around that time, and it led to increase demand for what? Teachers. So I think in the history, those who are teachers here, you know it very well. Please, who's controlling it? I hope he's not hungry and have forgotten about it. Right. So from the 1970s, I'm sure you're also in the 38 category ahead at table, you can be. So by 1992, I think there was an interest to bring some kind of transformations in the colleges, and therefore we noticed that some kind of thing, there was a wave to see whether the colleges from certificate to diploma, and that came in 2004 when we started to introduce the diploma as a qualification for teachers. Fast forward, by 2018, I think there was another change. But by 2012, there was a legal framework that gave the College of Education tertiary institution status. So we were no longer part of GS, but we have moved to be tertiary institutions. But when we got to the tertiary space, they said we're in transition. We don't belong to the universities. So if we don't belong there, where do we belong? We're also part of the GS. We have been in that position, and it brought about some other things, because our teachers' qualification, you needed to have a first degree when we were doing certificate. By diploma, you needed a master's. They didn't qualify that master's whether it was research or they just said a master's. So the teachers who remain had to also develop themselves to come back to teach. In 2018, and we accredit that one to TTEL for helping us to reform the teacher education curriculum by developing a degree. Remember the certificate, it was a general one that we're all doing, but when we started to do the degree in 2018, 2019, then it led to some form of specialization. You would either specialize as an early grade teacher, upper primary, or junior high. If you are in a junior high, then you have a specialty subjects, either mathematics, ICT, to graduate with a degree in that. And that's what you have to go and teach. So all the colleges of education that we had at the time, 46 colleges, by yesterday, I think I got a letter saying that the 49th College of Education have been absorbed. So we are left with one to hit 50. So my plan is, before I leave this seat, I'll get the 50th college. So what then happened is that our teachers were again required to go up their scale because they said masters, they had it, but the guy said you can't teach a degree person, you yourself have to have what? MPhil. So that was what happened. It's part of trying to improve the teacher quality because here when DG said the minimum degree, who will give you that first degree? It is College of Education or the university. So when we have that kind of changeover, by 2023, the College of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAC, then said, you are asking us to do work equal to that of university, then we need to also look at our condition of service. And what does that mean? We had our own line of promotion from tutor, senior tutor, principal tutor, and then chief tutor. And we noticed that they said that because we're in a college system, an MPhil person teaching in the university had a certain condition of service which were not the same as the colleges. And you know, union people, NTC boss is a union person, so I don't want to talk much, including our council chair. So, so they started to agitate that equal pay for equal work, because they cannot be in the college of education. You are required to have an MPhil, and what you are getting is not the same thing as the university teacher. It led to so many agitation. I don't know what I was unfortunate. I became the Supreme Court president, and all the pressure was on me. Why didn't they do that earlier? But when I took over, they decided. You inherit all assets and liabilities, so I took it up. So I think the long and short of it all is, when they did that agitation, they have to meet government. Supreme Court officer was part. Went back and forth, and eventually, government accepted that they had a case, and therefore they should be migrated to where the universities are. We are affiliated to different universities. We did not have any harmonized. So what was a quick solution? It's simple. If you are affiliated to UCC, which was actually the first university, all the colleges were, we should migrate along that line. If you are with KUST, then migrate along that. Eugene, where my own college, Accra College of Education is affiliated to, then the teachers naturally are migrating to the salary structure of university, but they belong to whatever UG does. So if you look at what we have here, we have assistant tutor. You require a qualification of bachelor's to be assistant tutor at the time in the college. So university placement will not, they don't have it because you can't have first degree in teaching in university. But they have what they call senior instructor. So the migration places our assistant tutor to senior instructor. Then we have tutor to chief tutor. If you don't have a non-research master, you have a master, but it's not MPhil or what we qualify as research masters. Then we put it on a principal instructor. Then tutor to chief tutor, research masters, that's what we know in Ghana here as MPhil. Then you are given assistant lecturer. Tutor to chief tutor with PhD, then you are now a lecturer. Now, in the college system, when we were chief tutor, when we map it to the university, they were like full professors. If you map it from the principal tutor, it was like Astro Prof. Then the tutor was like a lecturer, senior tutor, senior lecturer. One of the difficulty was the teacher then said, no, this status tutor and so on don't give us some kind of respect. So we asked ourselves, is it the money you want or is the title? They said, no, they don't want that title at all. We took ourselves back to Minister of Education and then Labor Employment to talk about whether we should change tutor to lecturer or something. And I remember the minister said, what does it cost you people to give them lecturer? Let's call them lecturers. We say, okay, everybody from now on is a lecturer. So, but there are implications. When we did that, and then the migration that we had done, we noticed that the problem is not solved like that. Because when we then got back to our fleet universities, they told us that once we are using our titles, if you're an assistant lecturer, you're not even a permanent employee. You're a temporary employee because you have only 4 years to make sure you get a PhD. If you don't have, you can't teach. Then we all now started to look back with our tutors. Did we do ourselves good on this? Because of a title change. So we had to reflect, should we go back to use our tutors or not? They said no, it's a journey of no return. So at the point of migration, I think what exactly happened then was, okay, when you map them, by January that we did the migration, you have there are about 1,500 who were the assistant, what we call instructors, and another, those who are PhD. Currently, we got about 143 across all the 46 colleges. It means they are the lecturers. GTEC, who is our regulator, now introduced a new rule that from January 2025 to teach in the college, you're required to have a PhD. The data that we have here gives 98% who are with us, so everybody have to do a PhD. Per labor laws, there's no way we'll let our teachers go. Truth of the matter is, I came from the university and joined them. They really have mastered the art of teaching. That one, you can take it away from them. They have mastered it very, very well and trained good teachers. And I think most of you who are here, who are going to college education, will attest to that. It is completely different from a mainstream university training. And I'm happy when they introduce licensure exams and people fail, and I go to the platform with the register and said, look at your data very well. It doesn't tell me that the colleges are the ones who are failing. And truly, we get 80% pass. Where the other failures are coming from, I don't want to talk about it, but I know they come from somewhere. So with this wealth of experience, we thought that we can't let them go. What college leadership, like myself as a principal, we ought to support them. So a lot of them are being supported to go for further studies, and I think I'm happy. The data that we had, we can attest that almost over 50% are doing PhD or some other research master, to be sure, would not be open for new people coming. I see people every day as a principal. I have completed my MPhil and I want to be recruited as a tutor. So we have even abandoned that attitude and you're applying to be a tutor. So the minimal qualification now is a PhD, depending on whatever you need to do. But as I said, those who are already in the system will have to. We'll look at what are the implications for this. We are here for teacher quality. For me and for the teachers, I think it raises their own kind of morale that they are now lecturers and therefore they are required to have a PhD. And of course, then there's that confidence to train. And what we're doing in the colleges was we're mostly teaching because we came from a tradition where we have to teach. Now we are required to also produce knowledge. That's through research. It's not a requirement because as you think that in GS, I remember my own self, I got promoted to, is it a senior what? Yes, I was promoted to senior superintendent. Then the university said I should come and be a teacher assistant. I went and I was going for my areas. They didn't give me the areas. Can I still apply for it? In the past, they never paid in my areas. I was promoted. So here, I think what happened in GS 4 or 5 years, and we listened this morning that some deputy directors' promotions have been stagnated. More than what, after 4 or 5 years, they were supposed to go recruiting. In the college of education, your promotion is in your hands. Because it depends, you have a minimum of 4 years. But if you can publish, then you may be promoted while your colleague will not. And the standards are very clear. That is another thing that they have introduced to them. And I think by that kind of elevation to the university status and giving this kind of opportunity, I was even promoted to professor, but my salary was not up to it. So when they were fighting, I think they did a good job, because when they got the migration, I also got migrated. Not so. The book and research allowance, they were getting virtually less than half of what the university people were getting. Today, we get, so that motivates the college teacher to do what they can do. In terms of salary, what an assistant lecturer is entitled to is the same thing. They have extended the same conditions and other things for them. And I think this is an elevation, and it's a good opportunity to let you know what kind of things has happened in the colleges up to where we are, producing degrees, and our teachers themselves are equally as good as the university people. When I talked about when the salaries were low, between 2022 2024, we saw a wave of teachers leaving the colleges to the universities. Then they have gotten there, they want to run back, but it's unfortunate, the gate is locked. They can't come back again, because if they are coming, it means that you have to, there must be clearance, then you can come. So that's the unfortunate thing. But those who remain, they are quite very good and working hard to obtain their PhDs. But I'm happy. In all these things, government and the teacher, we all saw what was coming. So we have to thank you and acknowledge all the efforts they have done. We are the only tertiary institution that's also here for this awards. When we started, I remember people were saying, but if we're in the university, why should we also go and participate in a GS thing? But you're a training teacher for GS. If something is coming for it, what's wrong with that one? Also go for it. But teachers have done very well. This is the third time we are coming for this award. And I want to stand on behalf of PRINCOF to express my appreciation to you. And thank everybody. Thank you so much.
That was a powerful presentation. Please, let's clap for him again. I'll take only 2 questions. One, please come forward.
That presentation. My name again is Melesusu Elikem Derek. I'm very happy of how PRINCOF such that teachers in the colleges get the same value in terms of salary as is being done in the universities. Now let's come to the product, that is the teachers that colleges produce on a year-to-year basis. Universities also produce these same teachers. But when you go to the universities, you realize that they don't have anything called the teacher's allowance. But our brothers and sisters in the colleges of education also, they get allowance. Now, I want to find out what is PRINCOF's stand on the possible cancellation of allowance, because it's not something that is sustainable. As you are fighting that teachers in the colleges is as their counterparts in the universities, what of the issue of allowance? What is the stand of PRINCOF? Should it be scrapped or should it be maintained? If it should be maintained, then should that same thing be done to students in the universities? Thank you very much.
Then the quality of the lecturers we are now producing. So, now lecturers are now moving to become researchers, more or less. And the research, you and I know, is very painful and time-consuming. So, what is PRINCOF doing to make sure there's no trade-off between the time they have to dedicate to train the students and the time they have to use for research, whereas managing burnout and also